start, but we're going to get started anywhere. So everybody, shh. Welcome to the Oakland Rotary Club. We're the third oldest club in the entire Rotary world. 42,000 clubs, 200 plus countries around the world, 1.5 million of us. Amazing organization. Yes.
May I have your attention, please? May I have your attention, please? This is your AV, Armin Turner speaking. Please lower your voices. The meeting has officially begun. Grab your food, find your seats, and lower your voices. Make sure all cellular devices are deactivated, if not silenced. The meeting has officially begun. Please and thank you.
Thank you. All right, I'd like to see who's joining us on Zoom. Who's here? As you know, if you can't make it in, please join us on Zoom. Blaze, how nice to see you. 2 weeks in a row, right on. Maurice, hello, Marie. Jim, nice to see you. Mark Rosen, as always. Ramona, nice to see you. Tom, Linda Chu, Joel Parrott. Have you had enough Rotary this week, Joel? All right, Maurice, nice to see you. Thank you very much for joining us on Zoom. Hello, club. Shh. All right, I'd like to welcome our visitors and guests. I'd like to welcome our visitors and guests. Any guests of Rotarians? Anna Marie.
Hello, everyone. It's my pleasure to introduce my guest, Kira Pasco. She is the Development Director at the Oakland Parks and Recreation Foundation. Please welcome Kira.
My goodness, thank you for coming today. Oakland Parks and Rec, right on. Allison Bliss.
Hi, President Shannon. My guest today is Valerie Coleman Morris, whom you probably, many of you still remember from being the anchor at Channel 7, where we got to work together. And now she is the trustee with the Fine Arts Museums in San Francisco.
Fantastic. Valerie Coleman, famous journalist. We love you, Valerie. Thank you for coming. It's really great to see you. John Goldman.
President Shannon, this gentleman is not my guest, but he is a new member of our club, Bill Morris, and Jim Morris, and he is sponsored by Will Hobbs. So please welcome a new member to the club.
Jim, can't wait to introduce you in the next week or two. Awesome. Make sure everybody meets Jim. He's a new member. All right. Linda Hamilton.
Hey everybody, I'm Linda. I am Stories to Last, your biographer and also college essay guru. And you guys know my guest already. This is my fabulous husband, Doug Hamilton.
Yay! Yay for fabulous husbands. Michael Valva. Can we just say, Michael Valva's in the house?
Thank you, everyone. Woo! Thank you, Shannon. Thank you. I'm a visiting former Rotarian. Okay. And I just wanted to publicly acknowledge my gratitude. I was informed via the grapevine last week that 2 people rang the bell for me, Mary Redzer and Tom Lamone. I want to publicly acknowledge their generosity. Thank both of them very much, and also to the club.
Very nice. Thank you, Michael. Isaac has a guest.
This is visitors, right? Thank you. Sorry. Isaac Koss-Reed on the board. Thank you very much. And I'm joined by Carlos Plazola. He's the CEO of BuildZig, a local construction and development company, and has been involved in the community for decades.
Carlos.
Please welcome Carlos.
Welcome. I have a guest. I actually created this guest. My son, Jack Leal. I love sharing with everybody how old I am, but I've been a member of this club long before he was born. So I'm very happy to have my son. He's leaving for Tacoma to go back to college tomorrow. All right, but he is the reason I went to Barcelona, so it's a good thing. Any other guests? Yes, Keith. Oh, Casey Farmer brought her mom.
Yes. And she is, I understand, filling out an application. All right. Anyway, so Casey Farmer's mom, Michelle Himmelberg.
Wonderful. Welcome, welcome. Michael Brett has a host of guests of our speaker.
Thank you, President Shannon. Yes, our distinguished, your wine is traveling here. Our distinguished speaker has a whole table full of guests here in the front. Please welcome first Elaine Backrack, Ron Bachman, Sue Bachman, Valerie Matsker, John Matsker, all old friends of our speaker and our speaker's wife, Roberta Michels, and last but not least, my spouse, Carolyn Bruck. Welcome.
Thank you, Michael. Oh, you did not go unnoticed, Mr. Daniel Mai. Danny's in the house! Danny, so wonderful to have you here. I literally just saw you, so good thing. All right, there we go. Onward ho. Our thought for the day today is from Alex Polson.
The members of the Society of Professional Journalists believe that public enlightenment is the forerunner of justice and the foundation of democracy. Their code of ethics may remind you of our own four-way test. Seek truth and report it, minimize harm, act independently, be accountable and transparent.
Thank you, Alex. That was very nice. We have a holiday coming up on Monday, and Martin Luther King Day on Monday, and I have invited Stephanie Dignam from the Living Jazz to come up and share some thoughts about Dr. Martin Luther King.
Hey, everybody. Thank you. Thank you so much. I wrote something, so I hope you don't mind. I'm just going to read from here. Again, thank you for having me. I'm honored to be here today to uplift a life dedicated to unity, love, and community, and share a bit about how Living Jazz is continuing this legacy. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. left an indelible mark on our world, advocating for justice, equality, and the power of nonviolent resistance. His vision of a beloved community where all people live together in peace and mutual respect continues to inspire movements for social change across the globe. As we reflect on his legacy, we are reminded not only of his extraordinary courage, but also of his enduring call for unity in the face of division. Here in Oakland, a town rich with history and social activism, Dr. King's teachings resonate deeply. From the Black Panther Party's roots in fighting systemic inequities to the vibrant cultural movements that amplify diverse voices, Oakland has long been a beacon of resistance and resilience. Our community has carried forward Dr. King's dream by advocating for justice and using art and music as tools for change. The values of service and community are central to both Rotary and Dr. King's vision. Just as Rotary clubs around the world work to build stronger, more connected communities through acts of service, Dr. King believed that true social change starts at the grassroots level, with each of us working together for the common good. Rotary's dedication to service above self aligns perfectly with Dr. King's call for us to act with compassion, love, and a commitment to lifting others up. Dr. King also recognized the power of music, often speaking about blues and jazz as profound expressions of the Black experience in America. He saw these genres as triumphant music that transforms struggles into hope and joy, embodying the very spirit of resilience and resistance. At Living Jazz, we are proud to embody Dr. King's vision. Through our work, we transform lives through music, bringing people together in a shared celebration of cultural expression and unity. We believe in the power of music to heal, uplift, and connect communities. I'm truly grateful to be here today as a representative of Living Jazz, continuing the incredible legacy of Dr. King and his belief in the transformative power of unity in art. This year marks the 21st anniversary of Oakland's largest civic and cultural event honoring Martin Luther King Jr. and hosted by Living Jazz. The MLK Tribute Concert In the Name of Love, which returns to the Paramount Theater this Saturday, January 18th, celebrates Dr. King's legacy through the timeless music of activist and Queen of Soul, Aretha Franklin, and performances by incredible Bay Area artists, including 200 children from Living Jazz's Children's Project. Y'all, it's amazing. They're going to do Rocksteady. Anyways, I've been at rehearsal. It's incredible. Showcasing the next generation of artists and activists. This promises to be an uplifting evening that connects our community. There are still tickets available, and we invite you to join us for this meaningful celebration of Dr. King's vision. Thank you all for having me. I really appreciate your time.
Saturday night, go to the show. I'm going to be in Eugene, Oregon. I can't make it. But please, MLK tribute with jazz, fantastic. You know, we were going to have a breakout session, 5 minutes of fellowship today, and Peter Sherris, I'm going to tell you, it's not happening today because of our caterer. I do invite everybody, though, to keep the dialogue open about Martin Luther King and what he's representing and what he thought would be accomplished by now and how much farther we have to go. So I'm not going to do the 5 minutes, Peter, to get us back on schedule. We do have every second Thursday, we didn't do it last week for a certain reason, but we're going to do it this week. We're just going to take a little pause and give anybody an opportunity to ring the bell, which is a $100 donation to the Oakland Rotary Endowment, on any little thing. Like, my son is going back to college tomorrow. Like, I just had the privilege of going to Barcelona with my son and spend Christmas away. That cost me a lot, but you know, or any little thing. And this is no pressure. This is, sometimes we have these fundraisers and people have all these magnificent things. Sometimes it's just like, gosh, I'm just grateful to be alive. And I don't want to make a big deal out of it. So I see some bell ringers, and I'd like to, I'm missing your name. John.
With the speaker, Spencer Michels.
Thank you. He is ringing the bell for friendship with the friends he has at the table. Very nice. Steve Blair. Hold on.
Give me 1 second, since I'm by myself today, I'm going to mic over
Those
as well.
poor Zoomers can't hear if we don't have a mic on you.
My voice is so loud, I am surprised. No. Anyway, I want to ring the bell in memory of a friend of mine who recently passed away. Steve Goldenberg was not a Rotarian, but he embodied all of the ideas and concepts of Rotary, and I want to ring the bell in his honor.
Steve, can you tell us his name again, please?
Steve Goldenberg.
Steve. All right, let's ring the bell. Thank you very much, Steve. Linda Hamilton has a little.
I promise you.
Oh, Linda Bosnecker. Great. I'm looking for the flashing lights here.
Good afternoon, Rotarians. I want to ring the bell because Jim and my youngest son proposed to his girlfriend over the holidays.
Nice.
So he's getting married. We're very happy.
Linda Hamilton.
I just wanted to announce again that Jason Weiselman and I and my husband Doug, who are in the band Corner Pocket, some of you have seen us, we're playing again at Riggers Loft in Richmond on January 31st, Friday evening. It's going to be super fun, and we'd love to have you all out there. Tons of Rotarians in fellowship, dancing, and having a great time. And contact me if you want more information about it. Riggers Loft, January 31st.
Good job. And that is fun. Jack McAvoy.
Well, thank you, Shannon. As long as you rang the bell for Jack, I think in view of the fact he was named after me, that I should ring the bell for him too.
I'll take it. Michael Valva, oh, almost. John Holmgren.
Me first? Okay. Last year was a tough year for me in some ways because my wife was very ill. We had to postpone a number of fancy trips we were going to take because I was retired. I'm happy to say she's recovered. We're going to Kauai next week.
Fantastic.
So here's the good health.
Woo! Fantastic.
Let's see, like to ring the bell for, oh gosh, Steve Goldenberg. Steve Blair just mentioned him earlier. He was a member of our bicycle club. Thanks.
Thank you, Fred Morse. Michael Valva.
President Shannon, I'd like to ring the bell. I have to confess that Rotary is my number 2 reason for being here today. Tomorrow is my granddaughter's identical twins' 2nd birthday, which brings
Nice.
Ring the bell for them.
Happy birthday, granddaughters. Hello.
President Shannon, I'd like to ring the bell on behalf of my youngest daughter, Jane, and all the other young people who are working their butts off to help clean up Altadena after that horrible fire, which is still going on.
Oh my God, thank you. Barbara Berry.
I am very privileged to say that I was a speaker today for the international webinar to connect Rotarians around the world who are working on HPV to eliminate cervical cancer. The webinar was very successful. If anybody is interested in the recording and the slides, please contact me.
Thank you. John Holmgren, you're up next. Somebody else? Oh, Rick Draper.
Well, I think I'm behind on a few bell ringers, considering everyone else. I have 3 grandchildren that I know I haven't acknowledged here, so I'd like to ring the bell 3 times for that.
Hallelujah for grandbabies. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. Congratulations.
Their names are Ada, Harold, and Everett, in that order.
Everett.
3, 2, and 2 months.
Wow. Congratulations.
One more. And I'd like to ring the bell for Michael Valva. 300 times a year, he spreads his love to us, and I appreciate it.
And
Thank you.
your greeting cards are coming from Michael Valva. Thank you, Michael Valva. Thank you, Rick. All right, well, that was wonderful. Thank you very much. So once a month, we have this kind of run around. Is there another one, Ruth? Ruth? Online. Oh, I'm sorry, Peter Sherris, there was an online. Peter Sherris, I think, had a something. You see something in the chat for Peter Sherris? Or I saw something that he flashed up there. Peter Sherris for Kaiser Permanente for their performance of 2 very well done cataracts operations. Good job. Thank you for sharing, Peter, and thank you for your bell ringer. All right, we're going to continue on. Rotary is a place of appreciation and recognition. And John Holmgren, good job. Let's hear about your thank you that we received from the Oakland Public Schools.
All right. Peter, can you cue up my slides, please, if you're the one doing the cue up? Well, while we're waiting for that, I've had the privilege for a number of years to be chair of the Kinder Prep Committee of Oakland Rotary. And that's the committee that, thanks to your generosity, being members of this club and contributors to ORE, provide amazing support for OUSD TK teachers, teaching our kids at the earliest level, the first level of education in our society. And over the years, we've given them gift cards, we've sponsored field trips, we've done book giveaways, we have some classroom volunteers, including Mr. Rayburn right there, who is still a classroom volunteer. And we've done many other things over the years. And I do get occasional gratitude from teachers. If I'm at a school site, I'll get an email, I'll get a call. But I was still a little blown away when last week I got a slide deck sent from the coordinator for TK education at OUSD, and I thought it'd be good to share it with you as people who have made this possible. So that is a compendium of TK teachers at OUSD. If you look hard, you might find Waldo in there, but anyway, that's that. Next slide, please. Okay, and that's another, just a slide. Next slide, please. All right, next, please. Very good, another amazing little collage. Next one, please. All right, here's some pictures of, we gave away 83 gift cards this year to teachers so they could purchase supplementary classroom materials. And here are some pictures of that at work, of kids playing with the stuff that we made possible. Next slide. Next. All right, and one more. Okay, there's a lot. Keep going. Okay, next. 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 A lot of toys out there. Keep going. Okay, and one more. Is there any more? No. All right. One of them had, okay, well, there had been a presentation from the head of early childhood education thanking Rotary for our support, and that apparently didn't come through. But what we have coming up next is field trips. And here are a list of the field trips that are happening. It's always great on these days if we can get some Rotarians there when the kids arrive to welcome them and tell them that Rotary is the reason that they are getting that field trip. So here's some that you can put on your calendar. Some of these are that we've done in the past, Fairyland and the Zoo. We have 2 different dates for the zoo, one for Fairyland, several for Chabot Space and Science, and new this year is Bay Area Discovery Museum in Sausalito. Some of the classes wanted to go there, so we're sending some there. So anyway, thank you all for your support for early childhood education. The kids enjoy it.
Thank you, John. John has done a great job with his committee, and you'd be amazed. Sometimes I wonder about the effect of some of our programs, and when I hear from the parents of kids that they couldn't afford to take to the zoo, and it's the one and only time they will ever go to the zoo or one of these programs, we make a difference. And we'd like to get into the school. Coming up for African American Read-In Week, and the Oakland Public Schools run some really good volunteer programs for our Rotary Hot Squad. Carrie.
Hi there. So if you are looking for some inspiration and doing these Hot Squad events, obviously we're out there sharing our voices and inspiring people, but the inspiration comes back to us as well. So there is a very cool event. We're partnering with the Oakland Public School Volunteers, which we've done events with them before. They're hosting an African American Read-In Week in Oakland Public Schools. And we've been in conversations with them. They need us particularly on February 12th from 12:30 to 2 to read to students in East Oakland's Highland Elementary School. So you will show up at the school, you'll be taken to 2 or 3 classrooms. They have reading material, but if there's something that you have personally that you want to share in terms of a child reading, these are young kids, you can bring that too. Anyway, you're going to get a sign up. I'm going to send everybody some information today. There's a link for you to sign up. You're going to have to get your youth protection pass, as we do for all youth events. Most of us already have it, but I'll send you the link for that too. So we'll see you then.
Thank you, Carrie. Thank you, Carrie. We are going to race through. We are running late. So let's say, if I send you an email to remind you about some things, please read it, because I can't tell you right now because I'm over time. All right, let's go, Jesse.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's me, Jesse Schmidt, and I'm coming to you today as a member of the Business Development Committee. That's what the BDC stands for, if you didn't know. And we're putting on a little mixer at Line 51 next Thursday from 5 to 7 p.m. And we would love to see you there. You know, as the godfather of the Business Development Committee, Danny Mai, would tell you, you know, Rotary started as 4 business owners meeting up on a regular basis to refer business to each other. So this is in our bones. But whether you are in a for-profit or a non-profit organization, come to this event and just connect with us, get to know somebody you haven't met before, and have a brew, have a dog while you're there. Hope to see you.
Thank you, Jesse. Thank you, Jesse. I need Rotarians that are not in this room to come next week. Y'all are really great, but we need the Rotarians. There's 100+ Rotarians that don't come to lunch. We need them at 5 o'clock. So if you know any of the new members that don't normally make it because of their schedule, please, off-sites are for that. Trisha, you're not. I'm going to actually probably have to roll over that. Keep going. You're closer. Trisha, enter time.
Okay, I'm going to be really quick. Where's the slide? We need you. Do you know, so we talked about kinder prep, right? So that's one of our biggest expenditures for youth. At the other end of the spectrum, juniors in high school come to Camp Enterprise, also what we call it now Enterprise Institute, every year. It's a huge expense on our part and such an amazing opportunity for these high school juniors. This year we have 90 kids signed up already. But oh my gosh, we have 90 kids coming. We need Rotarians to come, right? We need chaperones. One of the big draws this year is we've changed the curriculum, so students were promised that they're going to meet people from all different areas and careers around Oakland, right? It's all about networking, marketing themselves, and you guys are needed to market yourself and your jobs to these kids who need to know. My last slide, it's in the beautiful redwoods of Aptos, California, at Monte Toyon. Seth Butner can sleep in a dorm on a cot in a sleeping bag for 2 nights. So can you. So contact Carrie Hamill is taking sign-ups. So contact me or Carrie if you can come.
Great. I'm actually going to ask you to throw that slide up, Peter, of our environmental, and Robert, give it to us really quick. We had a great event at the district. It wasn't the district, it was the Climate Action Summit on Sunday. It was fantastic to see our Rotarian Joel Parrott in action.
Thank you, President Hackley. And I'm Robert Rayburn, environmentalist and BART director. They're connected. 3 surprising facts I learned at the Climate Action Summit in Los Altos this Saturday. West Coast Rotarians are second only to Southeast Asia, with almost 500 members in climate action committees. The world's largest cobalt mine is represented by old smartphones in everybody's junk drawers. And less than 5% of U.S. plastic waste is reused. Plastic recycling is a myth. As I left the newly electrified Caltrain station in the shadow of redwood trees, I thought of my professional colleague, Rod Diridon. In the Rotary International magazine last April, Rod published an essay, All Aboard, a transportation expert maps a route toward climate solutions. At the summit, I was pleased to meet one of Rod's San Jose Rotary friends, Deanna Persai, who coordinates Go Green program with 55 clubs. I joined President Shannon, I joined Joe Gorelka and Jesse Schmidt to hear 10 speakers discuss actions their clubs are taking. Our own Joel Parrott, chair of the Environmental Committee, presented on planting trees, our project. Through reforestation, we're not going to reach net zero, but those trees do make a difference in carbon sequestration. What is particularly exciting is Oakland's recently adopted urban forest plan. The plan recognizes that historically redlined communities in East and West Oakland also lack trees that can promote thriving communities. Together, we can put the oak back in Oakland.
Thank you, Robert. Very, very interesting and full of great things to help Oakland Rotarians in all of our different avenues of service. Michael Breck, please introduce our speaker. Thank you all for your patience on our late start.
Thank you, President Shannon. Spencer Michels has been a trusted voice in journalism for over 4 decades. A San Francisco native, he graduated from Princeton University's Woodrow Wilson School of Public and International Affairs, received his master's from Columbia University's Graduate School of Journalism. Spencer started his career with the Palo Alto Times and later moved to KNBC TV in LA, KCRA TV in Sacramento. After working on news and documentary programs at KQED here in San Francisco for several years, he joined the PBS NewsHour in 1991. He's produced hundreds of reports on topics including health, environment, science, politics, economics, the arts. Spencer's won several Emmys. He lives in Marin County with his wife Roberta, currently retired from the news business. Spencer is a docent at the Frank Lloyd Wright designed Marin County Civic Center. Sure to take his tour. Serves on the San Anselmo General Plan Advisory Committee and plays both tennis and the clarinet. Today, Spencer will discuss the news about the news. Please welcome Spencer Michels.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. I don't do this very often, but I'll do my best here. It's a really good time to look at news and news coverage, watching or reading it. Now's the time to do that. President Trump wants to get even with news organizations he doesn't like. And in fact, he recently won a big multi-million-dollar judgment from ABC News over the meaning of the word rape. He called the New York Times a true enemy of the people and repeatedly called mainstream press the fake news media. Just yesterday, the President of the United States said how important all this is. Americans are being buried under an avalanche of misinformation and disinformation, enabling the abuse of power. The free press is crumbling or disappearing. Those are serious words. Social media is giving up on fact-checking. The truth is smothered by lies told for power and profit. That was the President of the United States speaking yesterday. So, President Trump is a devotee of Fox News, and they of him. But for a guy like me, who went into the news business back in the 60s, idealistically, I figured I'd never earn more than $20,000 a year. I looked up to the New York Times and NBC and Huntley Brinkley and Walter Cronkite, Edward R. Murrow, James Reston, even Herb Cain. The news business was the ideal spot. I could combine my interest in education in international affairs and political science with a paying job where over the course of a long career, I would be close to power and art and fascinating events that were shaping the world. Without an axe to grind except telling it like it was, I talked with Ronald Reagan and Cesar Chavez and Robert Kennedy about a week before he was murdered, Nelson Rockefeller, many of the top personalities of the day. In fact, just before retiring, I took a ride in a Tesla with Elon Musk, driving 60 miles an hour through the streets of San Carlos. He was talking almost as fast as he was driving. I had a chance to learn as I explained to the NewsHour audience the fine points of cloud computing or the social implications of Google buses. I'd covered as many trials as most lawyers ever get to go to. I covered the entire Patty Hearst trial, trial of Dan White, and a bunch of others, Angela Davis. I don't think there was anything fake about what I was doing. But there is no denying the news business, and I have reservations about calling it a business, but it is, not just because of the internet, big changes. That, of course, is major, but there's more to talk about, and much of it goes back a long ways. These are the times that try men's souls, Thomas Paine wrote in 1776. The King of England didn't appreciate that. Alexander Hamilton insulted Aaron Burr in print and paid for it with his life. The Nixon administration screamed when the New York Times published the Pentagon Papers, and even louder when Woodward and Bernstein published Nixon's involvement in the Watergate burglary. So today's disputes over media seem ideologically driven at a time of major change in the world of news. But there is no question that technology is having a major impact on journalism. A great example of that is right here in Oakland. The Oakland Tribune closed down in 2016. A major source of news reporting in the Bay Area is out of business, replaced by the East Bay Times based in Walnut Creek. Regardless of the quality of that newspaper, the area is poorer without a real daily newspaper with live, real reporters covering events on a daily basis. Yes, many of us get our news from our iPhones or iPads or computers, but have you ever met a reporter from Apple or Microsoft? They don't exist. How does the internet cover the hassle over Oakland's mayor? How does Google News explore the intricacies of Oakland's homelessness or crime problems without sending reporters into the streets and city council and planning commission meetings on a daily basis? They steal some of their news, they buy some of it, but it isn't enough. Local news reporting around the country is suffering. Huge layoffs at newspapers in the United States, often blamed on people supposedly reading news on the internet, have decimated the ranks of reporters and the papers themselves. There were 20,000 jobs eliminated in the industry in 2023 and more last year. 2,500 local news outlets closed over the last 2 decades. Professor Tim Franklin at Northwestern University says that more than half of US counties now have either no local news or only one local news source. The LA Times laid off 23% of its newsroom, including 6 editors of color, the largest layoff in its history. Serious reductions have occurred at the Wall Street Journal, NBC, Sports Illustrated, Forbes, and a whole bunch of other papers and networks around the country. Time magazine had big layoffs, even though they made Trump the man of the year. When I started in this business, my first job was as a night reporter at the Palo Alto Times. 4 nights a week, I went to government meetings, city councils, planning commissions, school boards, and so forth. Boring? Yes. But it was essential to keep in touch with what was happening. Today, in my home county of Marin, nobody covers local meetings unless they're tipped that something really sexy is likely to happen. Does it matter? I think it does. I think very much it matters. News deserts, as they are called, result in fewer reporters and editors covering a town or a county or a city like Oakland. And people start to notice. The coverage becomes incomplete, to say the least. With fewer employees, there's less locally produced news and more acquired news. Deadlines change. The San Francisco Chronicle shuts down for the day at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, ensuring that anything that happens after that fails to make the next day's paper. That includes the Warriors and the Raiders, who get tired of that. They have the audacity to end their games after 4 o'clock. So that reduces their revenue, which leads to more layoffs and eventually fewer real news operations. And what about the attacks that Trump assaults on the media? Leave aside the fact that his buddies want the government to stop funding public media, including NPR, National Public Radio, and PBS, the public broadcasting system. NPR is radio, PBS is television. They're used to such attacks over the years, but Trump seems to have no respect for the commercial media either. That's also fine, it's his right, it's democratic society, but that criticism from on high is prompting fear among owners and executives of the media who are concerned about the bottom line. ABC coughed up millions rather than fight a lawsuit with Stephanopoulos. The Washington Post censored an editorial cartoon mocking Trump's ties to big business, causing the Pulitzer Prize-winning cartoonist to quit. And there are more examples of that practically every day. Trump filed a lawsuit against the Des Moines Register for publishing a public opinion poll just before the election showing that Kamala Harris was narrowly winning Iowa, which she lost. A lawsuit over the public opinion poll that happened to be off by 2 or 3 points. Is that a good idea? That's pretty devastating, and it's scary, and it frightens the owners of some of these publications. Which brings up the question of whether the news media is fair and balanced, or so biased as to slant the news. There are certainly some reporters and some publications whose main goal is to promote their side. Fox News is hardly alone. But from my experience, that is not the norm. As I said, I got into journalism because it was interesting, fascinating, and important. And most of the people I've worked with have felt or said the same thing. We also grew up with a sense of fairness. Present all sides of a story. The New Yorker once ran a cartoon, which I loved, showing Jim Lehrer in a discussion and telling the audience, in the interest of fairness, we have added a moron to our panel. That's going a little far, but generally, MSNBC and CNN get accused of being consistently liberal, that usually include diverse viewpoints in their discussions. Not always, but most of the time. Sometimes so diverse as to be noisy and annoying. In this polarized era, audiences react to fairness as well as to bias. I was hosting Forum on KQED Radio, a talk show they run in the morning. I used to substitute for Michael Krasny. And I was hosting it one day a few years back, and I spent a very fruitful hour talking with Peggy Noonan, who's a conservative writer and a commentator, and she was a speechwriter for Ronald Reagan. After the show, the station got calls and letters, a bunch of them, from people who thought I was interviewing the devil. Liberal listeners didn't want to hear her on their air. So it cuts both ways, which reminds me of something I don't hear too often. In my opinion, the quality of discussions on the major news and cable outlets is pretty darn good. When I was at the NewsHour, we were almost alone in providing these diverse views on major topics, and the discussions were good, if a little academic, perhaps. Now you can get interesting perspectives on hot topics that I find stimulating on a lot of stations, and they are provocative and also enlightening and less stuffy. Some people say they are tired of the news and the controversies, especially after the election, so the numbers are down. I'm not quite sure why, but it is a fact. So, what's wrong? Well, for one thing, advertising is off. One publication saw a 12% drop off in revenue. Digital advertising, which grew by double digits year after year, will only grow now in single digits. A media analyst says people aren't following the news as much. He calls it news avoidance, starting with the coronavirus pandemic in 2020. And according to the Gallup poll, only 32% of the population reports having a great deal or a fair amount of confidence in the news. And it's reported accurately and fairly. For news junkies, the picture, at least nationally, has its bright spots. From my perspective, the quality of discussion and reporting available in major publications like the New York Times, The Economist, and The Guardian, plus television outlets, including CNN and MSNBC, remain high. How can you get any better international reporting and analysis than Tom Friedman in the Times? The TV networks get interesting, well-informed people to talk about the news, even occasionally Friedman. I'm impressed by the depth of discussion on those cable stations. As for the network news shows themselves, Well, it's always a problem, the nightly news shows. As Walter Cronkite once asked, how much can you put into 22 minutes or less that is the actual news content on the CBS Evening News? And then we could talk about local news as well, but that's a whole interesting subject that we'll leave for another time. After the November election, a strange thing happened. From the LA Times, quote, viewers have fled left-leaning MSNBC since Vice President Kamala Harris lost the presidential election. The audience for the Comcast-owned channel is down 46% compared with the first 10 months of 2024, according to Nielsen data. CNN is down 33% after the election. Fox News, which gave Trump a Patriot of the Year award, has seen its audience surge. In November, the Murdoch family's network captured 70% share of the cable audience. Total viewers on election night, Fox at 5 p.m. was the most watched show with 4.4 million viewers. MSNBC was down at 2.4, CNN at 2.9 million. And what about PBS? Well, the numbers are small and they always have been. The average program on KQED, which is one of the most popular and successful of all public television stations, the average program there in prime time gets a rating of about a 2. That's 2% of the potential audience. The NewsHour, where I used to work, gets a 2.5, occasionally a 3 at 6 o'clock. That's about 80,000 viewers, which compares to other news programs, it's pretty small. They can get 6%, up to 10 or 12% for a regular newscast. At this time, when the cable business is facing an existential crisis, more consumers are forgoing the pay TV subscriptions that provide most of the revenue. So there are layoffs ahead. Does it matter? I think it does. Good journalism is vital to a healthy democracy. The Boston Globe's expose of sexual abuse by Catholic priests, the Anchorage Daily News and ProPublica's series on sexual abuse in rural counties, the Wall Street Journal's uncovering of failures in the U.S. pullout in Afghanistan, on and on. That kind of reporting costs time and money. But the internet has changed the ballgame. The Pew Research Center says a growing share of Americans prefer to get local news online, while fewer and fewer are getting news on TV or in print. My question is, again, where's that news come from? And newspapers are no longer consumed as a print product. The majority of readers of local daily newspapers access them digitally. The numbers, 66% get local news digitally, 31% from print. So the ballgame has changed completely. The good news is that according to Pew, Americans largely hold positive views of local news organizations, but they should know that news is still a business. When I was a reporter at KCRA in Sacramento, the station hired a consultant to do a survey to find out what kind of news the crowd would come to and listen to that station. So they took this survey, and the first question was, how old are you? If the respondent answered 60 or over, the surveyor was told to terminate the interview and go away. The station wasn't interested in people with gray hair who seldom bought new refrigerators or cars. I protested, but to no avail. So anyway, with all the strum and drang over the press these days, it's not easy to convince anybody of the other side of views that don't correspond with their own. Add to that the new technology that, especially for folks my age, can be a challenge. And you've got a situation where it's difficult to know if you're getting the information you need. James Carville, the raging Cajun, and a very astute liberal political observer, had a column recently where he tried to figure out why Trump won the election. He thinks the Democrats have to focus on the economy. But his final comments about the press rang a bell for me. Democrats must trudge headfirst into this economic agenda, into the new media paradigm which we now live in. I am an 80-year-old man and can see clearly that we are barreling toward a non-traditional, decentralized media environment. Podcasts are the new print newspapers and magazines. Social platforms are a social conscience, and influencers are digital stewards of that conscience. Our economic message must be sharp, crisp, clear, and we must take it right to the people. To Democratic presidential hopefuls, your auditions for 2028 should be based on two things. One, how authentic you are on the economy, and two, how well you deliver it in a podcast. It's the new media out there, but whether it's a podcast or a telecast or a blog or an honest-to-God old-fashioned newspaper, the basics shouldn't change. Fortunately, the field still attracts people, fewer and fewer apparently, who actually believe what Joseph Pulitzer said. Our republic and its press will rise or fall together. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. I feel like journalists are recognizing the servicemen and women who serve for our country, but I really do appreciate your remarks. I do want to have a couple of questions. So if someone has any questions, my question is, my son is attending a liberal college in the Northwest, and speakers are booed, and speakers can't even speak at the auditorium if it's of a non-liberal variety. And it's heartbreaking that free speech is limited. I don't know if that's a question or not, but what are your comments on that?
Well, I agree with you. It's really kind of scary that happens, especially at supposedly liberal universities. Columbia, where I did graduate work, lost its president. And these things are really scary. They need to be reported on really well also, because there's this big fight going on in this country about what you do about things like that. If you aren't, the Israeli-Palestinian thing has mostly brought it to the fore, but it's serious stuff, and the answers aren't clear.
The answer is people should be able to speak civilly, Martin Luther King would say. Yes.
So I know there's a major issue going on with TikTok, and I myself basically use that platform as a source of information, just basically like unbiased or basically different points of view. What's your thoughts on basically social media basically becoming a new platform of news and information, aside from the decline of mainstream media and news?
He didn't understand. And you're just a little deep voice.
So with social media becoming
something
the new
about
form,
TikTok being a platform.
being a platform of source of information, aside from basically me using basically Fox News or MSNBC or CNN, what's your thoughts on social media platforms basically now basically eclipsing what news media was supposed to be now?
Your thoughts about TikTok and other social media replacing the news?
Well, that's a tough question for somebody my age, because I have a really tough time with TikTok and so forth. But I'm totally aware that a lot of people are getting information from social media like TikTok, and I don't think it's being looked at very carefully. Facebook decided not to look at it, and I think that's a problem. But on the other hand, how is Facebook supposed to know what's fair and what isn't? So that's another problem. I don't think these are easy questions, and I think we're still at the beginning of trying to figure out how to deal with them.
I agree. One more. Joe.
Spencer, thank you for your insights into the news media. I firmly believe that journalism is the guardian of democracy. I was wondering of your thoughts on how it's evolved into this 24-hour news cycle and being more commentary than facts.
More commentary than facts in the 24-hour news.
Well, it depends what you're talking about. There is more commentary than there used to be because there's more media than there used to be. There's CNN and MSNBC and Fox, which don't always pretend to be right down the middle. If you look at the evening news on CBS or NBC, or ABC, I think they stick to a pretty careful balance. They try not to be unfair, and PBS bends over backwards to be as fair as possible. But when you get into the bringing on commentators to talk about things, that's a whole different ballgame, and those people are actually paid to have an opinion. So you've got Fox with very conservative opinions, and MSNBC and CNN with more liberal opinions, and some other outlying stations. So I think, you can choose what you want to listen to, but you have to be aware of where they're getting their information and the fact that it is opinion journalism and not straight journalism.
Agree. Well, with that, I actually am out of time, and I want to tell you that we so appreciate you being a speaker, and our gift is actually a donation to the Rotary Foundation to End Polio, because Rotary started about 20 years trying to eradicate that disease, and we are this close to annihilating polio off the face of the planet, and we are going to recognize you with that donation.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming very much. I'd like to say David's going to have a quick rundown. Next week we are not in the ballroom. We are having a mixer after hours. Please invite your friends. And then after that we've got some incredible speakers, so listen up.
As Shannon said, don't come here next week. Line 51, have a beer. But the week after next, Leon Panetta will be our speaker. Quite a history, 16 years in Congress, Office of Management and Budget, White House Chief of Staff, CIA Director, and Secretary of Defense. Might be able to tell us a few things about what's going on in the world. And if the world isn't your interest, but the economics are, come the week after that, February 6th, for Mary Daly, President of the San Francisco Federal Reserve. And if that's not enough for you, we got the local scene the week after that with Ray Bobbitt, who's the head of the group developing the Coliseum. And finally, on February 20th, Academy Awards, Gary Myers. Great programs coming up. Be here at Oakland Rotary.
Thank you all for your help. Nice to see you, Danny and Michael Valva and all the guests. This meeting is, oh, wait a minute. Go out in your, stop it, Jack. Go out in your community and make some what? Magic. This meeting's adjourned. Thank you.